To Reverend Ed Trevors. We were John C. Roseman, California. 6:39 at night, West Coast time for a Friday, the 12th of April, 2024. I finally caught your video concerning about Christians and grief. Maybe my perspective throws people off, but I had been through death in life. Age 4 years old, open heart surgery, born with leaking plumbing in my heart and then crooked limbs. Sorry, I'm just petting my dog. She's up. I'm dealing with death in a different perspective than anybody else. At 4 years old, you don't get taught anything concerning about anything about theology. Mine was practicality. Mine was realistic. Mine scared the living daylights out of me. And as a 4-year-old, I didn't want to go through the pain. I wanted to go home. Somehow, somebody upstairs said, "No, it's not time yet." Put me back in my body again. 3 times. And during this time, the doctors were still trying to resuscitate me and do the repair job on the heart. One patch, one sewed, and the other one left open because I kept dying on them too many times. So they would have to keep monitoring me for about 30 years or more to see how the old ticker's working and dealing with it. But it was hard to take in theology. It was hard to take in Christianity because I thought God hated me. Why did he put me back in? I didn't know. You're talking about one confused kid who didn't understand why. Why am I alive? Why was I dead in the first place? I mean, what the hell happened? There was no explanations for it. Except I know they kept losing me and floating up in my body and then floating back trying to get to heaven, and heaven just kept saying, "No, it's not your time yet." I'm like, why? Why are you doing this to me? And I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. I still can't. Maybe if I took it at one particular point that Ma got a message indirectly from my brother through a doctor. My brother was 8 years older than I am. I think I talked about him many times on my channel. And that's why I keep the same camera angle. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on my mother right now. She's a little wonky. Thank God for her pads on the floor. If she does anything, I'll clean it up. Dave sent a letter to the doctor and asked him, "Mom," he asked him, "Save me. Please don't let my brother die." Ma held on to that note for all these years, and Dave and I never knew about it until after Ma already passed and we were going through her effects. We saw the note. I think that was the last time we majorly cried. Dave was firstborn. It took him the hardest. I really didn't realize I was a middle child or the last child. Ma had a stillborn at one time. I think right after David, and then I came out. I probably was a special golden boy. That was a medical case. Afterwards, I became a mental case myself. I don't know, some things I was going to be saying at this point over here, but I'm not going to drive them crazy on that one. Not yet, anyway. Usually, Reverend, my letters are going to you unlisted. This one may be listed because I still want to post it on my channel. Just let everyone else what's going on these days. For me, this is the diary of the griever named John Weaver. which is me. And I'm usually talking to the folks that listen and wonder how the hell I'm doing. Shout out to everybody. Not for you, Reverend. Christians and grief. That's a hell of a topic to label that particular video there. And it's important for people to understand theology has nothing to do with death. Death is it. Death is death. You can do all the religious practice you can and all the rituals, but until you've gone through it, unless you've gone through it, you don't know it. And if you survive the process and happen to come out of it, it changes you in more ways than one. What ticked me off sometimes is every time when I kept coming across people trying to make a buck off of death. They say they died and come back to life. Now they got to write about the thing and make money off the damn thing. Movies and books and stuff like that. I'm not making a red cent on this one, and I'm sure it's not going to do this one. But as I said before, I wasn't prepared for any of it as a young kid. And no preacher, no pastor could explain it to me. They can try doing all the scriptures and try to sound like, well, what you've come across, Reverend, you hadn't gone through it. I'm not talking about just losing relatives on your side or losing people special. I'm talking about going through the process itself. I'm not telling people to go through it and understand a damn thing. I mean, if it's God's will, it's God's will. But at this point, it was God's will saving me and putting me back on this earth for one reason or another. And it still screwed me up one way or another because I couldn't keep that strong... Yeah, she did her business good. I couldn't keep up that strong feeling of being connected to the oneness, whatever the hell it was that people wanted to strive for. I couldn't make people understand what was going on inside because I couldn't even figure it out as a kid. I didn't have any perspective. I didn't understand one thing about it. Why was I alive? And why couldn't I just be connected to God? And why wasn't I back upstairs with God? Every time I kept praying in church growing up as a kid, you would think that maybe I would understand and feel something. It only took a few things in my life that really put me connected with that power. One, for praying about my aunt and maybe accepting Jesus in my heart. A few years later, going to a YMCA camp for about a week and try that and still get maybe an echo of, hello, I still recognize you, I know you, that kind of feeling. And have that feeling lasting for a time, and then after that fades away when you're in adulthood and struggling like crazy for everything else while seeing people that you care about die and pass along. And you have to hold in the grief because you have to keep surviving. You have to hold it in. You have to keep working. You have to keep struggling for food, for bills to be paid. You have to keep struggling at jobs. So you shove all that pain, everything, in a box and just have it there while struggling with life. And every time there's a friend gone, that pain, that memory, everything else goes in the box. It's no wonder I wasn't living life. I was told a long time ago, stuff it in. Big boys don't cry. What a bet. Little boys cry, but they're not allowed. We have to be tough enough. We have to be men. We have to be manly men. We have to be strong because of these country-ass doctors out there who lived in a different generation of mine. They couldn't figure it out for the life of us. I couldn't figure out the life of me. Why picking on me? I've been dead before. Why are you doing this to me? I never could have understood it. I never understood it one way or another. My family couldn't emote. They couldn't cry. They couldn't break down. They had to keep being strong, strong, strong. It's not about religious belief, Doc. It's whatever kind of doctrine and theology that crammed into your head to say, well, we ought to be grateful that eventually it's going to be our time to go up there. Yeah, I've been there, done that, and got kicked out. Thank you very much as a kid. How else am I not supposed to feel part of the Christian thing? I can be educated in the Bible like crazy and all the proverbs and psalms and lines in a book. It didn't mean anything. I could understand the book, what people's interpretation of God was like. Still thought God was against me or something like that. Why did he save my ass? Many times. Why wasn't I visited by an angel trying to explain things to me in a more, and whatever God's way wanted to be? And I'm listening to every other pastor out there talking about death and rejoicing and everything else. It's like, oh, great. Why don't you celebrate the afterlife at this point over here? But I'm not allowed to go. I'm not allowed to feel the peace and joy. I'm not allowed to feel the love. Thank you very much. And the only love I was feeling right now is how to feel connected with my family more and more. Granted, it wasn't perfect. For the last 10, 15, 20 years, changes happening left and right to my family. I'm seeing mortality striking at them left and right. My brother struggling out crazy. Give me a second here. I got to take care of my dog real fast. Yeah, cleanup I have to do. Carrying a dog for just to see if she's still going to be okay until next term and then go back to college again. Rev, it was never easy. I've lost friends. I've lost family. In the last 10, 15 years, I've lost beings, four-legged and two-legged, that really, it broke me a great deal. It broke me inside and outside. Damn near got into an accident. It almost took my life again. But it never bothered to put me in the hospital just to see how the hell I was doing. So now I'm suffering through the physical stuff like that, but also the psychological crap. I could have been dead, but I wasn't. I don't know why. During the time when my mother was slowly dying, I didn't even want to admit that. My brother had to try to raise that issue with me. He couldn't even deal with it, but he was firstborn. He had to deal with it. He had to get me ready for it. How do you get ready for your mother's death? It's supposed to be a natural progression. The parents die off and the kids are supposed to live on and whatever kind of life they got, and then if they have any progeny after that, they're supposed to carry on after their parents are gone. I didn't have that. My brother didn't have that. We had it. There's stories about this one that still hurts like hell to say, but I'm going to say it anyway, Rev. Last weeks of her life, she started to have conversations and visions. She was talking to her. Hang on a second. Interruptions suck. Throws off the momentum. So, approximately weeks before her passage, and she was getting sicker and sicker. More hospital visits, more nurses visits. The home hospice thing was really taking a number on me and my brother, but we had made a promise to our mother when we had lost our grandmother back in the 80s. We would take care of Ma at home. We would not let the hospitals take care of her unless there was no other way. Holy crap. Broke that damn promise. It was like about several months prior to that, or maybe earlier than that, I think a year or two earlier than that, when she had a slip and fall in the hospital. She had been hospitalized because of infection. They got the infection taken care of, never exercised the muscles. So by the time she was ready to get into a wheelchair, she plopped on the ground hard, and she didn't have the strength in her muscles. 5 or 6 gorillas just to put her back in bed. And then we had a hunt. Insurance company had a hunt for a rehab place. And in the rehab, while she was trying to regain her muscle strength, about a couple of months in there, we managed to sign out paperwork. My brother would be the primary durable medical power of durable power of attorney at that point. So he would be the mouthpiece. He would be the authority that people would have to go for taking care of Ma. I'm just a guy bringing in the paycheck and trying to take care of things at home. But that was my job. I wasn't complaining about that portion of it. Somebody had to bring in the damn bacon. And Dave would be the primary at home 24/7, so would I. But somebody had to work. But in the last several weeks of her life, she started to talk to people that we didn't even know, or other people we did know. And she was so strange about it. Is that they were trying to get her comfortable enough, put her at peace, put her at ease. Everybody came who was dead that she knew, just to put her at ease. And then David really didn't understand this. Either it was Michael or Raphael or somebody else came in. It was the last night of her life. This was back in January 31st. An entire birthday month of mine. And she's got visitors in there. Dave and I are scratching our heads. Ma, who are you talking to? Oh, I'm just talking to this one. I'm talking to Grandma. Ma, Grandma's been dead for so many years. I know. She sends regards. Sometimes Ma would have a problem with her dementia that she couldn't even recognize me. She barely recognized my brother. But Grandma? And the night, it was getting close. She was granted one last meal to leave the earth, I guess. She always loved pomelos. A long time ago, I lived in the San Fernando Valley before he moved out to the Antelope Valley, where she died in. Ma was a bookkeeper, accountant, controller, tax expert. I mean, she was on top of her game. Trying to be anyway. And she worked for a non-profit senior center organization for the needs of the elderly, O&E. Sundays they would have farmers market. There would be a farmer bringing in his stuff, and he would have pomelos. Ma had already gotten used to grapefruit for the past couple of years, and now we get the chance to taste pomelos, and we did. Sweet as hell. No, sweet as heaven. Sweet as heaven. And she had a strong craving for this stuff. She had to have her pomelos throughout that time period. When the 90s all the way up to her time of death. She passed away. Her body passed away on February 19th, 2013. She passed away on February 1st. It took 19 days, I think, for her body to figure that one out. And maybe part of her soul was in her. I don't know, but it was dying slowly. But that night, when we had to call actually that day before, we had to call the ambulance. She had her last meal on earth. Not eggs and bacon or toast like she would normally have. Just pomelos. Okay, so grab her one out of the refrigerator, cut the thing in half, slice it up. Sectional knives that you use for that. She taught me a long time ago how to eat a grapefruit. Sometimes you put sugar, mostly I'd put honey in them. Too damn tart, so I had to get it sweetened up a bit, but it was still... Oh. I didn't taste the pomelos. They already had their sweet in there. It was like eating heaven. And Ma was going to eat every pomelo she could get her hands on. She was a tough old bird. She never stopped. A lot of stories I've talked about it on the other videos in my win files. If it says win on it, it's more stories in there unless I already got it labeled on my channel. So I've been at it for about a few years already. Anyway, that night she ate her pomelos and she recognized me a great deal. And she was saying things through her eyes that I couldn't figure out. But the one thing I should have figured out, that there was a cold spot in there. There was a cold presence in there. Something that left a chill. It's like something from the spiritual world entered the mortal world and just sucked out all the heat in the area. Oddly enough, in one particular area, everything else felt okay. And then gave her the pomelo, took out the dish. I don't know if she ever said goodnight or goodbye or both. The next thing I know, a few hours later, Dave and I are still getting up. We're taking care of the dogs, and she's starting a death growl. We come back in, and she's gone. Dave's automatically on her, pounding on her, trying to get her body to react. He's doing CPR like crazy. I'm calling and talking to the 911 operator, trying to get the fire department out here. These guys have been going out to the apartment for 5 years straight. They always kept haranguing my brother on that one. Always the same captain, too. Until this time. Until this time. They got her body going. Kept it stabilized until they get over to the hospital. And then they put her in critical care unit just to keep the body going. Hopefully she was still in there, but we didn't know. We were in shock at that point. Calling all the relatives we had and every friends we got. Messaging, texting, and everything else. Rev, when you're on automatic, you don't think, you don't feel, you just do. The body doesn't want to know about it. You're in shock and all, but your body is taking over. So is the brain on automatic. There is no conscious thought. You are dealing, you are doing, you have to function. That's how we were. Throughout our lifetime, right after Grandma, actually I think right after Aunt May, but I think right after Grandma, Dave and I had to be that way. We had to go on automatic. We had to turn things off, all the emotions off. We had to deal. We had to do. Until we have to get to a meeting hall, 12 steps. And then break. God bless it. There have been times I wanted to tear apart the place left and right. I wanted to take that chair and slam it around and scream and yell. Why? What the? Why now? Why? Well, during the time we were going through an eviction process, tried to go through that one. You had to be dealing with that, find a new place to go. But we were going to be fighting it out because we were going to be staying in that apartment. That wasn't bad enough on the damn thing. I still got to worry about my brother's health because besides him going to the hospital, actually she would go to the hospital on some occasions. He would go to the hospital because of his own heart conditions. Which I'm surprised that I hadn't gone to the hospital myself in all these years. Not looking forward to it either. I figure God's going to keep me on this earth for God knows how long, so I guess I'm going to be living forever. Or there's going to be something happening after the age of 60, and then I'm going to be joining them, which will really be putting a crimp on my style there. But as for Christianity, for the Christian theology, the Christian beliefs concerning about it, I already know that God was existing out there. I just don't know why I was getting sidelined left and right. And in the meeting halls of 12-step recovery, we use the concept of a higher power. So, okay, God's going to be the higher power. So I have to treat him as such, like a higher power. If I'm going to talk to him like a regular human being, I'm going to talk to him like a regular human being. Sometimes the language really got salty. really got salty. And I had to talk to him. But I didn't know how to talk to him on that situation. I may barely remember any conversations I had with him during that time or prior to that. I know I was doing recordings left and right. A couple of years back, actually a year back to that, when I was getting a voice recording and just pouring out my heart and soul on a damn thing. And just storing the stuff. I didn't realize they're going to be needing the damn thing until it was too late. And now I'm going crazy on this damn stuff. I can't stop recording. I can't stop the visual recording since David died. I've always been the audio recording just to get stuff off my damn chest. Pardon my language. On my channel, I curse like crazy. I saltier language than this one, Reverend. So my apologies. Welcome to apartment living. I know that they have about 5 to 7 things of depression people can go through. The problem is not in order, and you're definitely not recovered from grieving. I've had a lifetime of it. After my emotional state was breaking, but tried to find things to keep me occupied. My brother was going to be going to college to keep him occupied, but the stress of it was so much that he had a heart attack at school. I had to take him over to the hospital, and next thing I know, that night he wasn't staying out for 24 to be monitored for 24 hours. No, he didn't want to die in a hospital. Period. So he got combative. Where's my pants? Where's my ID? Dave, I've got your ID and your keys right here. Give it to me now. No, you're staying here. You're going to get monitored. And then we had the argument. Oh God. Eventually he drove himself home. His doctor, a day or two, gave him the riot act. Mr. Shaw, you don't take care of yourself, you're gonna die. He said, good, when? You gotta understand something about my brother. There's been a lot of stories I've put out there concerning about him. And if I can show you the not working clock on the wall, if anybody can look closely at that, look at the emblem on it, you'd understand. He wasn't afraid of death. He didn't like living sometimes. But he wasn't chasing death either. This time I think he would have. I think he was. He just didn't want to die in the same hospital Ma did. Unfortunately, he did. Or at least on the way to the hospital. About 3 or 4 years later, after Ma passed away. Let's see, 2018. Yeah. 3 years and some odd months. And that was hard to take right there. David passing. Right after Ma passed, we had gotten a place out in the town where I'm living in right now, Roseman, an armpit of the Antelope Valley. Going through a lot of changes these days that the people are having issues with. About a year and a half in a trailer, we got scammed out of the damn thing. Made some bad decisions. Came homeless for about a month. Salvation Army and a veterans group helped get us into this particular apartment. Then about 2.5, 3 years later, I'm calling 911 on this guy who's been partially bitten by a stroke about a few weeks earlier than that. It's been taken out of his speech and taken out his mobility. I mean, he gave him aphasia, dysfunctional of the brain, where you know the words you want to say, but you're saying something else. Instead of saying Reverend, I'm saying plumber. Plumber Ed Trevors, or Plumber Trev. Try dealing with that conversation at this point. Doctor said probably with recovery, with a lot of therapy, you could. I'm hearing all the damn promises, but no promises. I think my brother started willing himself to die during that point. It upset him and upset me a great deal on that one. One morning, he wakes me up, September 8th, 2018. Johnny, I can't breathe. No, it was John, I can't breathe. Simple. Clear. Clear. Phone's on 911 at that point. Looking at my brother as I'm trying to get over to the chair over here, pulling up another chair, looking at him with the light on his face, just to see if he was turning blue, if he actually had enough oxygen going through. He was struggling with breath, but he was scared, but he wasn't showing it. I guess maybe he was still getting himself ready. I had to take care of the dog, had to take care of the apartment before we get it loaded up in the ambulance, and he was still trying to laugh and joke his way. Next thing I know, after I get out of the ambulance at the hospital, about 12, 15 miles away, and going through the emergency room, just waiting around like crazy, just, what the hell's going on? Charging up the phone like it's another ambulance visit. It's like another visit over to the hospital. Then security calls me through the rooms. Okay, go right past the security office, into the hallway, into the emergency room, and I'm going to hear him yelling or screaming. No. Her trauma room was littered with stuff all over the place on the ground. I hadn't had a chance to clean it up. But to lift the body without all the tubing and stuff. There was no cold shoulder. There was no cold presence. It was just there, a piece of meat. I didn't see his face. All I could do is yell and scream at it. Get up, you're a SEAL, damn it. Get up, you don't give up. You don't quit. I got ushered out of there real damn fast, didn't I? My brain was trying to kick me in overdrive. My brain was trying to put me in automatic again. Keep the emotions down. Focus what you need to do. Get rides. Get people. Talk to somebody about this one. Contact the family. Contact the neighbors. Contact. Somebody else from program came out. I think I saw them once or twice in the meeting hall. Drove me back home, where I don't even remember what the hell happened after that, but all I know is I received a phone call from somebody else, one of my friends, coming back over, and then I get another call from the hospital. Say, where do you want to pick up his stuff? Yes, I'm going to pick up his stuff. Sorry, did I stir? Hey, Mama, sorry, I scared you. I scared the poor puppy. Come here, puppy. Come here, Mom. Ugh. I scared my dog. I know. I'll take care of the mess. Don't worry. And now she's going psychotic again. That's my dog for you. She's an old lady. She's got a little bit of crazy dementia right now, but she's still struggling like me. So my friend takes me over to the hospital, grabbed his stuff, and then we go home. I think I barely remembered eating at the hospital before I left. I barely remember functioning. I contacted people, veterans groups. What the hell I would handle about a funeral or anything else like that. So our friend was walking me through this. She was. She and her brother were walking me through this one. They had already gone through their own. So apparently, they were more able to handle it, and I wasn't. Still too damn fresh, and I still couldn't believe that he was gone. The dog that I showed you, little girl, I had her in my bed all the time, sleeping with me. She didn't want to be left alone. Apparently, she knew David wasn't coming back. Every time David would go to the hospital, one thing or another, he always came back. And that was a consistent pattern, wasn't it? That was a consistent pattern even with Ma. You go over there, take care of the business, come right back. Things are about normal, right? Not this time. Not this time. Hard enough to deal with the stuff months or even years afterwards that you had to take care of. And I did. But I just wanted to say, Rev, I mean, I could go on this one as I normally would on my channel. Is I still deal with the daily struggle. I still deal with the daily triggers. And I'm going to do another follow-up video and send you both of them because it's taking way too much time.